Now we did set up Visual Studio Code, and here's our HTML code from before opened in Visual Studio Code. Now before we dig deeper into HTML and into understanding HTML, which we're going to do in the next lecture, I want to show you some of the reasons why we switched to Visual Studio Code. For one, we got this so-called syntax highlighting, where H1 is highlighted. This kind of makes it easier for us to spot where we have the start and end of HTML elements and where we have plain text. In addition, we, for example, can hover over this H1 element and we get extra information about it. For example, we learn that the H1 element represents a section heading. We even get a link which we can click, which takes us to a website, the MDN web documentation, which is kind of like the official documentation for HTML and web technologies, where we can learn more about that specific HTML element. Now, you don't need to read through that article at the moment, but that can be nice to have as well. And if we write an element, if we add an element, let's say H1 again, if we write this element, Visual Studio Code, for example, automatically gives us this closing part of the element. That's another little convenience feature which it gives us, which also helps us avoid errors. Because with that, for example, it's more difficult for us to forget this important forward slash on the closing part of our element here, of our HTML code. So these are convenience features, some of the convenience features Visual Studio gives us, and these are some of the reasons why we switched to it. And with that though, let's dig deeper into HTML and let's understand this code here in greater detail.